This is the last show in our preseason series, College Fantasy Football Industry Influencers. And who did we save for last? Kyle Francis. You can find Kyle on Twitter at FranchiseKF. And as you're about to find out, this one was saved for last. I know everyone amongst the industry influencers. We're looking forward to watching this one because they want to know if Kyle came after them. Kyle's a great guy. He adds a lot of color to his context, great personality. And quite honestly, I feel like I could sit down for hours with him and us go back and forth. I know the other industry influencers are really waiting for this one to see if they're going to get attacked on this. But buckle your chin straps, guys. You're in for a ride. Here it is, Kyle Francis. We're welcoming in the man, the myth, the legend, Kyle Francis. Kyle, what's going on, my friend? I see you're rocking the Lynn Bowden shirt again.
Always, yeah. That's it's actually the only apparel that I own. So I get some weird looks at weddings, but those who know.
Oh, well, those who know. And that probably sums you up really well. Look, for anyone that doesn't know, you could find Kyle on Twitter at FranchiseKF is his handle. He's involved with the Devy Watch. He provides some great content over there. I'm going to ask you to elaborate for a little bit because I think, to use your words, Kyle, you say you're a sucker for scheme, right? So kind of tell us a little bit about what you do over there so we can get some folks your way.
Yeah, so a lot of what I'm doing is kind of like twofold in terms of analyzing prospects, starting at the high school level, and then even starting to try to project them towards NFL roles and what that looks like. Some of the folks listening probably know what Devy League or developmental leagues are. So I spend part of my time doing that and enjoy that. But really what I like doing is kind of heading a lot of our college fantasy content and spend a lot of time writing pretty long form previews on players and schemes, as you said, and just really kind of outline historical production and through those schemes. And that's a huge emphasis in terms of what I do and how I play college fantasy.
Sounds good stuff. Well, look, man, we're not going to get too serious on this show. We're enough with being serious. We are going to do a couple of college fantasy football, just draft questions, and then we're going to get into some fun stuff. So we'll start there, man. Look, first of all, thank you for participating in the 4 drafts we've done this year. We did some last year. Unfortunately, those didn't get to play out because we did the best ball drafts early in the year. And with the way that COVID affected the season, we didn't get to play out those leagues. So it'll be nice to finally see those leagues play out and see if you could finish in the top half of the standings. So that'll be fun. But here's a question real quick though. We're coming to the dog days of college fantasy football drafts. Things are heating up right now, and things are heating up at the site over at the CFF site. So our best ball drafts are in the books, right? April, May, June, July are really the times for us to kind of sit back and do these drafts with one another. We've done 4 of them together. Anything of all the drafts that you've done this summer in redraft leagues, traditional college fantasy football, or even dynasty formats that are your biggest takeaways from all the drafts you've participated in this year?
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, I'm generally an advocate for not going quarterback super early. I found myself when I was in the first, let's say 5 or 6 holes of a draft, I was more inclined to take a quarterback. But really for me, the big thing that I saw if I didn't land in that spot was I think that there's a pretty big gap between some of the top producers and then kind of the next tier of quarterbacks. And so that was something that I saw play out. I would say I generally see that play out most times year over year, but that was something that I tried to execute in a lot of the drafts and feel like I had success doing that. So that's kind of a strategy or a trend that I think is actionable. And the other thing I would say, I think the tight end position is super deep this year. That there's some tight ends that are going undrafted or guys you can have in rounds, 20 through 26 of our 26 round league that I think could really be weekly starters, 35, 40 catch guys is just really what you want if you're not going to go early, in the late, I guess that, round 6 to 10 on a guy. There's plenty of advantages to waiting.
Yeah, I know you and I actually were texting one another when we had our recent draft, and I had punted on tight ends, but the punt is a relative term because I scooped up, I think, Jelani Woods really late in the draft, and you were like, man, I had my eyes on him. Up until that point, I had no tight end selected, and I think maybe up until then, 16, 20 tight ends, 25 tight ends were already off the board. So you're right. I mean, there's value there late in the drafts. That's something I've noticed as well. So here's something, here's a good question. This is where we start getting fun a little bit based on your fantasy rosters that you have right now. I don't know how many leagues you play in, but who's the player that you need to have a big year this year? Whether it's just from maybe your prediction, or is it from your fantasy rosters? Who's one or two names that you really need to pop this year?
I think I really need Chris Rodriguez at Kentucky. I have a really high ownership of him across all of my different formats. I think I took a pretty strong position on him. He's a top 5 running back for me in my rankings. So I'm taking a bit of a risk on him. Have pretty high exposure there, and he's not coming super cheap. So his ceiling will likely determine mine in a lot of leagues. And then I've got another name who's he actually is my highest exposure player, is Kalyn Griffin from the running back from Rice. And what I would say about that, what I would caution when I say my highest owned player, that doesn't mean that I have the highest expectations for him. That would just mean that when the draft falls at his cost, I've found him to be a worthwhile investment in every draft that I've been in. So if he can do something this year, as well as Rodriguez, I feel like both of those guys could put me in a pretty good position. But obviously, my cost to acquire Rodriguez is much different, so he's more critical to me.
Yeah, I think so, because I think looking back on the drafts as well, and just knowing what you feel about Rodriguez, you're much higher than most. So you probably have a pretty decent share of him, even with some of the industry guys that we draft with, because you're one of the early guys out of the chute with him. And in regards to Griffin, you hit the nail on the head. He's really not coming at any cost to you. You're really getting him for free and on the cheap late in the draft. But if you've got that much in him, if he pops, really that's bonus for you though, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in best ball, where I don't have to make that decision. I know that they're like a lot of group of 5 teams. They have some tough games early, so don't really expect much. So I guess if you're listening to this and you're in a league that does have the waiver wire, if he doesn't pop early, and I know those are the players that we all want, but if he doesn't, he's a guy to keep an eye on come conference play, because I think Rice is actually going to be a pretty competitive team with a really good defense. So I think some game scripts actually favor him once the playing field balances out a little bit for them.
Now, here's another question. Who is a player that you want to see flop, and why?
Well, I would never wish ill upon a player, but
not injury. I'm not injury. Just
yeah,
flop.
yeah. It would
fantasy flop. And for what reason would you want to see it?
It would sure be a shame if Texas's backup running back that got drafted in the first round didn't pop. I think his name is Bijan. I don't know. I don't know how to pronounce it. I'm not French, so it would sure be sad to see him fall on his face.
Why did I know you were going to go there? I probably should have worded the question differently, because I have a feeling we're going to spend some time there. Here you go. Here's another one for you. How many fantasy leagues would you say that you play in this year total? Dynasty, redraft, whatever. How many fantasy leagues do you typically play every year on average?
The best ball has really opened up the door for me, because I'm really only putting in just the money and the amount of time that it takes to do a draft. So that really lets me play in more. I would play in a ton if it were people who would draft quickly and it were all best ball, but I think I'll probably end up in maybe 12 leagues or so, with probably 5 of those being best ball. So I'll be a little bit stretched, but not terribly stretched.
Yeah, I think, I've had a number of guys reach out to me as well. I'd love to be able to play in more in-season leagues, but the in-season roster management is really what dilutes my time. And I just, the best ball leagues where there's no waiver wire, the initial investment on the front end, and then we're just kind of draft and set is where I'm at. So if you're playing in 12, how many are you going to win this year, Kyle?
I would say probably 11. I'm sure there's a chance that one of them I could tie or something for first. And then by then I'll have to worry about the IRS. So I'll probably just give it to the other guy. So I don't.
So you stay under the threshold.
Yeah. So, I'm no stranger to moving money.
So there he goes, guys. He's going to win 11 of his 12 leagues. So he's going to pop at about a 92% clip, but he's going to pawn off some of that money. So hit Kyle up on Twitter now, get in with him and become his friend right now. All right. So here, we're going to get into fun. Here's a question that I'm going to ask you. Are you a beer or liquor guy?
I'm actually neither.
Okay.
I used to be everything, and so I had to put the plug in the jug. So if you've ever seen
So what you go to? Are you a coffee, cola, what water? What are you?
morning, I do like a nice craft cola, like a Mexican cola, like real cane sugar in it. I like some kombucha tea, but yeah, I used to turn into Frank the Tank, and I'd streak the quad. So it was time to put that away.
Well, I get it. So let me ask you this: Do
Yep.
you swear a curse?
Sometimes, definitely not as much as I did then. So I try not to.
So Kyle Francis, when he was Frank the Tank on a wild Friday night at 3 a.m, what was your go-to word, man? What were you always dropping? Was it F-bombs? What was it?
Probably darn. Just a nice, just real close. I was just living on the edge.
Well, look, man, I'm expecting a little bit more out of that. You need to up your game a little bit because I refuse to believe that that's
here's the problem, Joe. If I said what I wanted to say, this we wouldn't be able to be carried on YouTube. Let me just leave it at that.
Well, this is not going to be. This is going to be checked for no kids. So
Yeah.
we can curse however the hell we want. And when I told Katz that, he decided to just start dropping F-bombs. And I was like, damn right, baby. That's what we're waiting for. So,
Well, I mean, what do you expect from a fantasy influencer like Cat Daddy Katz? I mean, he influences in his speech and with his drafting. And I'd also like to congratulate him. He only took 2 Western Kentucky receivers this past draft. So I figure 10th place will be about where he'll be on this one versus carrying the cellar dweller and the others.
any chance he's scouting high school seniors committed to Western Kentucky next year?
Without a doubt. I actually know he is for certain. I happened to speak with him earlier. He doesn't carry a cell phone. He's got a beeper. And so I beeped him earlier, and he was he was actually at a stadium nearby him over there in Piscataway. And he was seeing who he could pipeline over to Tyson Helton.
Well, the word emphatic and cat certainly go together.
Yes.
So they're synonymous with one another. But really, honestly, on a scale of 1 to 10, what are you going to give him as far as a skill set for drafting? Him being a draft expert, what would you actually give him on a 1 to 10? Because it seems like he's, like you said, he's an influencer. He's a self-proclaimed industry influencer.
And I assume 1 is Chris K and 10 is me.
Well, I mean, you can do whatever you can,
Yeah.
Whatever your scale, however you want to weight your scale.
Well,
on
it goes
a scale of Chris K to Kyle. Where does Katz fall in?
Well, the good news is I don't have to qualify that remark. So I'd put him at a 2.5. This last draft where he showed a little restraint, a 3.
Okay, because I think he gave himself at about an 8.6 on the expert scale.
Yeah.
So the fact that you're actually rating yourself a Kyle out of Kyle on the college fantasy football expert scale, I think pretty much sets the tone for where a lot of these shows are going to go and how everyone else should really recalibrate themselves to think about how great of an expert they are, shouldn't they?
Yeah, but I mean, as well as I do, Joe, when you get north of the Mason-Dixon line, things get wild up there. And so him living up there, in pretty much the Antarctic of the United States, I mean, what could be expected?
Do you think he ever comes out of that box he's in?
I don't. No. I again, I can say that with certainty. He only to ride the subway, and he never gets off.
Okay, so let's move on because we may not be done with you, Katz. Let's get there. But Kyle, here's a good question.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to be for our group in general. It could be anything in general. But during a draft, you're known for being quick on the trigger. You're the auto draft guy. You average 2.0 seconds per draft pick in 95.7% of the drafts that I've actually played in. What are some things that owners do during a draft that just drive you batshit crazy, man?
I would say the worst would be someone making 1 pick on the elbow and then an hour later making the second. To me, that's a lifetime ban. There's really no circumstance in which that's forgivable for me. So that's the quickest way to be expelled from one of my leagues is doing that.
It's interesting because when I've already spoken to Nate and he threw out the same exact thing, that was probably his biggest pet peeve. Like, did something change in your philosophy of your roster in the last 30 minutes after you made that first pick? It's funny. He actually said the exact same thing.
While we're here on Nate, I've actually done an extensive study
So you've influenced him. Is this where it's coming from?
Well, no, I profile drafters, not on who they take. That's really inconsequential because I know that I have the keys. But really what it comes down to is Nate is what we call a draft piddler, a draft room piddler. And so he really gets a lot of enjoyment on being on the clock and just feeling like he's in a position of power. And so it's a unique archetype. I'd say 25% of drafters in college fantasy formats adhere to that strategy. And I'm actually considering writing a book on this, but for now, it's just an idea.
So if you had if you decide to indulge that idea and write a book, is there a chapter in there also for like Bainbridge?
Oh man, yeah. I mean, it would kind of go back to the same thing where we'd have to go no kids. I don't know how we'd do an X-rated book and sell as many as we'd like because I don't know that I could fully get everything out that I wanted to, especially now that I try not to swear.
Yeah, I think you and him over the last couple of months, Bijan Robinson is definitely the hot topic, and it's going to be interesting to see how that one plays out. So,
well, we know how it's going to play out. It's just a matter of how bad the train wreck is.
Okay, so here's the question because we may come back to Mike. Let's see.
Yeah.
We're going to do a gauntlet, right? We've got all 4 leagues going. We're going to come up with some point system, and there's 10 of us playing in the same league, which I need to get that out. And we're all going to put some money in the side pot. Whoever's the best drafter, when you consider where you stand in all 4 drafts, we're going to go winner take all. But let's just assume, even though you're going to probably hit a 92.8 clip in your league. So I'm assuming you're probably going to win 2 out of 3 out of these 4 numbers would suggest, and that would make you the gauntlet winner. But let's just say for some reason, some of your guys just stubbed their toe. It doesn't really matter. Let's just say you finish second to last in these leagues. It doesn't really matter because as long as you beat whom, that's all that really matters in these leagues. Who's the one guy that you just can't lose to in the standings in these leagues that we're playing with?
That's a tough question. All of them would smart. It would be tough to take that with anybody. I don't even think I can single it out. It would just say it would I would have to seek therapy if that scenario played out. As highly unlikely. I know this is a hypothetical, but just rolling out the string here. It would be death by 1,000 cuts to lose to anyone.
Okay, here we go. Real quick. 1 or 2 words. You're familiar with a lot of the guys in the draft. Quick name association. College football winning edge. Nick, 1 or 2 words. Thoughts on his drafts. That sums it up right there. What about Froton?
Rocky Lombardi.
Okay. All right.
Hey, and let me clarify that because I actually found out this morning he may be twin brothers with Rocky Lombardi. So if you hadn't had a good luck at Rocky recently, take a look at Froton in his sleeveless tee and you'll see 2 brothers.
One more for you, John Lobb.
John Lobb. Hey, thank God we beat the timer. Actually give me a few minutes here just to thank Mrs. Lobb and his family for allowing him to stay up a little bit late. Almost had a catastrophe on our hands with the 20-minute timer going. And so I just want to thank his family for their service and their sacrifice for allowing John to not only finish with a fervor, but actually to finish ahead of Nate.
Well, you know what's interesting is that I haven't broken the news yet to John Lobb about the 20-minute average pick sleep timer, and thinking about not even breaking him in on that, just in case we need to incorporate it next year.
Without a doubt, that's the only way to play things. So we'll keep it moving forward.
All right, so here's the next question. Fun question here. Who's the most annoying guy in the group that we play with? Whether it's just through what they say, what they put in the thread, who's the most annoying in the group?
It would probably have to be the passive romance between Chris and Mike.
That's a good one. All right, so here we go. We're gonna end with a bang here. You got me all caught up now. You get a night out with the guys, Kyle. Okay. But you can only take 3 of us from the league. Who are you taking? What are we doing? Where we're going?
Yeah. Well, I may have told you this story before, but my great granddaddy, he lived to be 141 years old. And on his deathbed, he looked at me and he said, "Big Bear?" And I said, "Yes, Peepaw." And he said, and he paused for a minute, and it was tough for him, in the moment. And I said, "Yes, Peepaw." And he said, "Never associate with perverts." And that's something that I've tried to adhere to. It's the one reason why I didn't elect to go to Auburn. I went to Alabama, and it's for a reason now why I think an in-person hangout with this group would be inadvisable. Just to truly honor my Peepaw, I don't think that I could associate with this group, because if there's one word to describe the collective, it's perverse.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, hey, that makes sense, but tip of the cap to you. I'm glad you're going to handle things solo. You go out there on the limb and handle things yourself.
Yeah.
We're coming for you, man. We're going to come out your way. By the way, before we get off of this, let's just say there's a lot of the Battle of Atlanta talk that goes on within our thread. Can you kind of give us the rundown of what's going on there, and really who is the true, like, really not hypothetical, who is the true king of Atlanta in the group?
Well, you're looking at him right now.
Okay.
And so I would say that that's unquestioned. Whether or not he wants to settle that after I sweep him this year, or he wants to arm wrestle, a lot of different ways that I can, exercise my dominance over him. But, again, going back to Peepaw and all he meant to me, I probably have already said too much, because the second to last thing he said to me was, a lion never concerns himself with the opinions of sheep. And so that's also something that Tywin Lannister said. And, being from a kingly family, him and myself, I think it's best to just leave it there, and the people know.
Now, if I would have posed that question to myself, I think I would probably select you and Peepaw as two of my three. I can only imagine some of the stories and some of the knowledge that Peepaw would drop on me, even at my ripe age. I can only imagine that. So Kyle, man, look, here's the deal. I'm done with the questions, man. At this particular point, I'm going to turn it over to you for a minute, 2 minutes. Is there anything that you really want to say, put a bow on this? I feel like there's some unfinished business based on what's happened in the thread. I'm going to kind of mute myself for a minute and give you the floor here, kind of put a bow on it.
Yeah, I think most of what was critical to say has been said. And I think, most importantly, with my winning percentage being well documented, forthcoming at 92.6%, I think it's going to be clear what's going to happen. Last year, I took a chance in that one draft where I just kind of wanted to flex a little bit, where I didn't take the quarterback until round 20. Got a little bit more serious this year, and I really think that the results are gonna speak for themselves. And honestly, if I don't double up the last place finisher in total points, and I win every league, I'll consider it a disappointing year.
Yeah, well, look, the one thing I appreciate is you actually doing this interview and this show in the light this time, and you kind of give everyone a chance to kind of take in your mug over there. Last time we did this show, I was kind of arguing for some neon lights. We were getting close to sundown, so yeah, I appreciate you kind of spurging a little bit, getting the bills paid. Having the lights turned on. And look, I still don't even know at this particular point if you wash your laundry and if you still have on that Lynn Bowden shirt and haven't taken it off yet.
Yeah, it's a worthwhile question. It's one that we're just going to leave to ponder.
Well, I guess we'll find out next year when we do these shows, right?
That's right.
So look, man, hey, look, on a serious note, these shows are really a way to just kind of make it lighthearted, make it fun, bring some fun into the college fantasy football drafting and the group that we do. And hopefully along the way, do what you do over there, Debbie, and, the participation that we do throughout these drafts and some of the shows that we do, if we can help some people along the way and have fun while doing it, that's really the key, man. I know the season's about to get hot and heavy. We won't be doing many shows. Maybe we have you on for a podcast at 1 or 2 times during the year. Hopefully you're you're open to doing that. But I want to thank you for kind of coming in and really another round, another season of drafts in the book. And it's been fun, man. And I can't wait to do it again next year. And really just wanted to give everybody a chance to kind of get in, get everybody in the college fantasy football community a chance to know everyone, get to know their personalities, and just really make it fun for everybody. So thanks again for coming in, and can't wait to do it again next year, man.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate you having me on, and I would love to do something with you and Mike and during the season if things work out. And honestly, these drafts and these threads and everything, it's become a highlight of the summers for me. So thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, man, you got it, man. Can't wait to get these up. We'll be talking soon, buddy.
All right. Thanks, Joe.